Hi guys, welcome to the new video. Today we talk about iPhone 14. So let's get started. This is the iPhone 14. The new vanilla model and Apple's yearly setup. Not much has changed since last year. On top of that, the gap between the iPhone 14 and the Pro models is more extensive than ever, so is this phone still a relevant choice? Another model with some incremental updates that is basically not all bad with regards to the iPhones. But exactly how incremental can we get at any point? It seems like we could find out with the new iPhone 14. This year's vanilla model gets 2 or 3 features from last year's iPhone 13 Pro, the A15 Bionic chipset with a 5-core GPU. There is also a new selfie camera which has self-adjust. Another new feature is that the internals have been rearranged. So the iPhone 14 is more easy to service and repair. There are several increases when it comes to connectivity as well. There's new Bluetooth 5.3 and a region-specific satellite association that you can use to contact emergency services. It's helpful if you don't have network inclusion, and there's about it for the meaningful changes. The compact design is the very same, and as premium as ever with IP68 rated ingress protection against up to 6 meters of water holding. The phone in hand, you'd be hand-pressed to tell if this is the new model or the old one. It's not like the Pro models are breaking the mode this year either, but they really do bring a new hyped-up selfie cutout with additional functionality, and they also support an always-on display for the first time on an iPhone. Unfortunately, we get nothing new like that here. But even an upgrade of the screen refresh rate to match the Pros would have been wonderful. But no, it's still 60 Hz and compared with most phones in this cost segment. Swiping and scrolling feels a bit choppy. It remains a decent screen, though a 6.1-inch OLED with a pixel density of 460 ppi and ceramic shield protection. This display is very brilliant, achieving a limit of around 800 nits with a brightness slider. Same to last year. Unlike the Pros models, there is no auto brightness boost. Beyond that, constant on the iPhone 14 looks brilliant. The panel is sharp, contrasty and colorful, and the color accuracy is excellent here. There's also HDR10 and Dolby Vision support. Obviously the notch cutout is into the content of it, but that is normal here. For sound, the iPhone 14 has a couple of sound system speakers, with the earpiece doubling as the second one. They sport very good loudness and the sound quality is fantastic, with extraordinary mids and highs and decent bass. For storage, you get your choice of 128, 256 or 512 gigabytes on board. Last year's iPhones ran on the A15 Bionic chipset. But they weren't all that similar. The vanilla models had 4 GPU cores, while the Pros models had 5 cores. That A15 Bionic chip with 5 cores is being reused in the iPhone 14, and as you'd expect, it provides brilliant benchmark performance. Comparable to last year's iPhone 13 Pro, there's an edge over the regular iPhone 13 with regards to GPU tasks, but CPU-wise is very comparative. When it comes to thermal management, the iPhone 14 throttling it's performed a lot with prolonged stress, but does so in a gradual way without sudden dips that might cause hiccups or lag. The iPhone 14 has a 3,279 mAh battery limit rather than 3,240 in the iPhone 13. It's exactly the same thing we did, however, measure an increase in the screen on time with the iPhone 14, but the overall endurance rating was comparative at 90 hours. There is no charger with the new iPhones and you'd need to get your own. Let's discuss about the interface. Apple's new iOS 16. It's not an exciting update over iOS 15. Finally, let's go over the cameras. The 12-megapixel main camera is similar to the iPhone 13 Pros, and compared to the vanilla 13 has a brighter aperture and larger pixels. The 12-megapixel ultra-wide camera was identical to the one on the past model. This year Apple also brings an update to the HDR picture stacking tag, where before it was called Deep Fusion, now it's the Photonic engine. The 12-megapixel photos from the main camera are perfect and typical for an iPhone. There's a lot of detail, low noise and natural-looking colors. Dynamic range is great but not too wide. 12-megapixel photos from the ultra-wide camera are really wide. And there's a solid amount of detail, great contrast and exact colors like the main camera. The dynamic range is adjusted but not too wide. Unlike some of the other recent iPhones, there's no self-adjust on this camera. Onto the 12-megapixel selfies, they are brilliant. The detail level is perfect and the skin texture and colors look very natural. There's low noise and the contrast and dynamic range are praiseworthy as well. The iPhone 14 has phase identification self-adjust, which is very reliable. The iPhone 14 can keep video in up to 4K at 60 FPS with any of its 3 cameras, and all modes. Also features an extended dynamic range. Thanks to the smart HDR 4K recordings from the selfie camera are amazing. They're extremely perfect and detailed with decent looking textures, and the stabilization could be better, but the bigger bumps and shakes are still handled well. 4K recordings from the main camera are great, there's a lot of detail, decent colors and strong dynamic range. All the 4K recordings from the ultra-wide camera are great, they excel in all things and must be among the most detailed we've seen as far as ultra-wide cameras. The iPhone 14 has brilliant stabilization. There's new action mode which offers an extra smooth impact at the cost of some resolution, and a smaller field of view. It works really hard. So that is the iPhone 14. You get an impact from factor and the excellent quality you expect from an iPhone. That basically summarizes it really. There is self-adjust on the selfie camera now, which is great, but different changes are small but great. You don't even get the signature new look of the iPhone 14 generation with a dynamic island, or the new always-on display. Overall, I would call the iPhone 14 more of a refresh than a genuine upgrade. And keeping in mind that it is a decent phone, you can save some money by getting the iPhone 13 without sacrificing that much. So, thanks for watching guys, see you in the next one.